Ooh, homies, it was a day today. It's been a minute since I felt that burnt out. My quads were shaking. I was just burning in general. You know, when you're that sore, it's really hard to even imagine diving under an Olympic lift as fast as you can when your quads are super stiff and your joints just don't feel as where you'd want them to be. But man, it is such a fun day when you feel that physically exhausted. You do a couple warm-ups and you're just like, wait a minute, let me just turn it on. I was moving today. I surprised myself by how good the lifts looked today and how heavy I managed to actually get for what I was doing. I think it really goes to show like how well prepped this kind of training is getting me. It's been a lot of fun doing this kind of stuff, just not stressing as much on the accessory days and having a little bit more fun with it while also having that good purpose behind each lift so that they can grow at a nice efficient rate that doesn't really risk injury. When it came to snatch today, I was I couldn't really figure out what to do, and what I ended up coming up with was I always see people doing like up and down full tempo snatches so that they can feel every part of the movement instead of just, knowing how to rip it off the floor is obviously important, and that's what's going to be, predominantly used in your main lifting. But when you do a snatch from a deficit position that limits how much strength that you can put in the normal muscles you're used to using, oh dude, you will be surprised by how fast you can whip that bar. Oh man, I paused just above the knee because pausing at the knee ended up feeling a little like it wasn't enough range of motion. So I paused above the knee, so I would have to force myself to feel that my knees coming back as I went through the first pull, while simultaneously doing a full lift after that without touching the floor. So pause above the knee, let the weight go, I kept it a little slow, but go slow on the way down before touching the ground. You come back up and do a full lift, and then just to make it a little bit extra spicy, because it's technically a volume-ish week, I wanted to add one more limitation, and I'm so used to using my main muscle strength that I never actually end up pausing in the bottom of my snatches because I quite frankly don't really need to for the way my body's built. But it's still good mind-muscle connection to know in case I need it, and it's something that I'll probably progress into using more in the future because of how important it is to stabilize yourself. So I ended up putting a pause on the catch after getting under the bar before standing back up. So that was really something different to feel, because you have to obviously push your knees slightly back on the way through the first pull, but making the bar go just above the knee is what makes it a little bit more taxing, because you get to that PowerPoint position where you're ready to whip it, you cut the momentum, and then you have to go back down, letting your knees come back forward over the bar to have a proper bar path while keeping your shoulders over the bar without letting your low back give out and lean forward too much. And then before touching the ground, really, really got to whip it with all your technique, because that is not a kind of lift that you can bet your strength on. Of course my strength matters, and that's what's going to get me stronger, but when it comes to just doing the lift by itself, like when I got to 205, I missed the first one, and I just literally was not fast enough. And in my head I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I got two choices. I can either call it there and just say that I wasn't ready, or I can recognize what I need to work on in that moment, and at the minimum attempt it again right away, because I don't like taking a minute to walk off and then do a big old rest period and then come back. When I have a lift like that, that's not like a super heavy top set, but it's heavy enough to feel it and I got to really lock in that technique, I don't like taking too much time before I hit it again, because I have that mind-muscle connection right there in that moment. Kind of like when people are trying to get reports over incidents, you want to get the report as soon as possible so that you can know exactly what people were feeling and what they saw in the moment, because adrenaline will make you forget everything after a matter of 5 minutes. So I jump back on and I really emphasize pulling the bar into my hips on the way up while maintaining my low back stability, and just it flew. Because I missed that one, I ended up going by 10 pounds each set instead of jumping straight to 225. And dude, it just kept flying, man. I ended up doing more sets than I needed to, because I got to 235. 235 moved very confidently, but since I did so many working sets up to that point, or so many warm-up sets up to that point, when I got 245 on the bar, the first one I tried, my thumb tape actually ripped. So I rewrapped and tried it one more time just to see what would happen. And, you know, at that point, shoulders were burnt out, joints could not take it. I just was not, at that point, I could not become fast enough, because I had, it's like when you do full sprints and then someone's like, all right, try to beat your pace after doing the sprint. You know, you can't just pick up speed after you've given it everything at 100% and the technique was there. It just wasn't, I just wasn't strong enough today for that kind of weight. And that's perfectly fine. I'm very happy with that good of an attempt, you know, especially with how tired my legs were and how much I had to really lock in my form today. That's why these variations have been so much fun, these complexes, because I've just been able to really hone in my technique and my core strength in areas that I never thought that I lacked in the past, you know? And not only will it make me stronger, but it'll make my joints stronger, you know, my stability and that mind-muscle connection, that confidence I have in my core and just sitting right where I need to before the bar even catches. That is what makes you a really good Olympic lifter. Being able to just get to that bottom position and not even have to worry about where the barbell is or catching it or locking out, because the mind-muscle connection's already taken over. You're just going to do it naturally. So you just got to make sure you're as fast as humanly possible. You know, you got to break the sound barrier sometimes. Bench, you know, I was a little pressed for time today, so when I got to it, I had to really hone in my shoulders for sure. My joints were a little sore, a little stiff after that, but they honestly didn't feel bad. It just was a little tiring. My shoulders were definitely burning real bad. So I had to really lock it in because I had minimal time to do maximum effort. And I like working under pressure. I think that a little bit of stress makes people, get past what they think their limitations are sometimes. And so that little factor that doesn't let me think too much about what I'm doing kind of helped me lock it in when I needed to most. But dude, I was blown through them. I got through all my warm-ups in like 10 minutes. 275 moved great. And so what I ended up doing today, before I tell you about the top set, is I had the idea originally coming in where I was like, okay, let's just do sets of 6 at a comfortable weight, like 275, and let's just go 1 minute rest in between each set, go as many times as I can until I fail. In my head, I'm like, you know what, that's fun, that's a little different. It's a variation day, so the whole point is to come up with something that might motivate me a little bit to try harder in a thing that I don't typically put work into. And talk to a homie about it, and truthfully, for strength training, it really is not going to help me the way I want it to. Sure, the conditioning, it can be good, and for like a deload type kind of day, like if I was coming off an injury or if I was coming off of my sickness from last week, that probably would have been a good day to do it with my deload stuff. But realistically, when it comes to strength, you don't need to do a whole lot for bench especially. It really comes down to just doing the lift in that static, explosive way that you know how. And not saying that I wouldn't get stronger because of doing that kind of volume. It just isn't as efficient when it comes to overall strength building in that moment. So I scratched the idea last second and was like, all right, let's come up with something really funky. And I've done it for squats several times, but I never really thought about doing it for bench. And getting under the bar, and, I kind of have to slow tempo it so that I can keep it controlled and steady and not overdo it. But it's a slow descent, no pause at the bottom, but on the way back up, you pause halfway through the drive, right at that sticking point that people normally get stuck at, and then you go back down and do another full lift. So, slow descent, pause halfway up, and then do another full. And that's 1 rep. And so I just did triples with that today because it's basically 2 reps in 1. So I didn't want to overdo the volume and do like a set of 12 if I had done 6. But that hit different, brother. That hit different. Because especially with my shoulders as dead as they were, really locking in that technique, forcing that hold, and then the repositioning and the redrive. And, you really have to just completely reroute what you think your explosiveness is when it comes to coming out of that weight, coming out of the hole at the bottom. Because that first one, you want to give it 110, but you have to save it for that second one because you're not going to have enough left. Oh, and it burnt me out. I'm glad I did it, because when your shoulders start burning, it gets difficult like that. A lot of that pressure goes to your triceps and your pecs, and brother, I had a massive bahumba pump. I will tell you what, it was really fun to feel that kind of a different lift, especially on that last top set. Got up to 285, and I'll tell you what, on that second rep, my arms definitely went numb. I started feeling the pins and needles, and I was like, shit. But when you're at that point on a bench and you feel your arms deteriorating, but you're going to go for that last one, you have to go right away. You cannot sit there and re-lock in and re-stabilize, because your shoulder stability is going to be what drives it the rest of the way through. If your shoulders are sitting there burning out as you waste time thinking about getting your back set up and repositioning while you're already on that third lift, on that third rep, you're not going to have the strength to drive through it. So I just went straight away, did the full lift, and I haven't watched it back yet. My butt may have came up just a slight bit, but honestly not enough for me to even be upset about it. I'm very proud of the drive I put on that lift. I nearly failed it. I'm pretty sure it started going down, but I had that moment of like make or break, and it was just enough. I think the prior reps of forcing myself to stop at the breaking point, because the whole idea is to train driving through the sticking point that most people can't get through when you have a closer grip on bench like I do. And man, I got through it. Man, it made me feel a little different. I did not expect it to go back up, and neither did my spotter, but it went. So physically, oh man, I'm gonna give it a 9.55. I felt astonishingly good today for how tired I was. Mentally, I mean, everything's just kind of right on the money today. I'll give it a 5.5 or a 9.5 as well. I felt really, really good today. Everything was just really aligned the way I wanted it to be. There was no extra stress. I wasn't worried about attempting a heavier weight and failing. I was just doing it to do it and have fun. Something that I've really taught myself, and I think a lot of people need to take a lesson from, is you really got to teach yourself how to slow down so that you can pick up the pace. And this sounds obviously hypocritical, it doesn't really sound like it makes sense, but like these weights today, especially with like the snatch where I had to go all the way back down without touching the floor and back up, you really have to focus on honing in the pace that your body can comfortably lift at, rather than whipping it as hard as you can just for the sake of getting a slightly heavier number that you're not actually ready for. Same thing with the bench. I was originally trying to do really fast descents on the first part of the lift, and going fast made it too hard I either stopped past the sticking point, which ruins the point of the entire exercise today, or I just felt like I was bouncing off my rib cage. So I was like, it's going to be harder and it's going to be more strenuous, but let me slow it down and actually hone in the parts of the lifts itself that I want to progress in, and I'll let the numbers remain an accessory, because giving it that time to accumulate and really build upon itself is going to be what makes me so much stronger. Like, I guarantee you, in the next, I think 3-4 days from now, I'm going to do my next heavy bench day. I'm feeling 315 for 6. I am feeling it. I am so excited. The last time, obviously I hit 315 for 4.5 the other day when I was doing my quick little deload weights. I wasn't really thinking about the weights that much. So coming off of sickness and just deloading with 315 casually, even if it wasn't the reps I wanted in the moment, it's good. I have to take my time to allow it to happen when it's supposed to. There's a destiny or a fate meant for everybody when it comes to whatever you're trying to progress to, whatever goals you have, and they're going to happen as long, making progress is not the hard part of your passions. It is calming yourself down, remaining committed, remaining disciplined no matter what, and coming in on those worst days no matter how bad you feel, and applying 100% passion to it every single step, because the progress is going to come no matter what, in any way, shape, or form. It's relative to what you want to grow through. But if you aren't committed and disciplined and going to give it that actual enjoyment and passion when you can on those days where you feel as exhausted like I did when I got to the gym today, you're not going to know what your potential is, and you're never really going to reach it. I could have never told you. I thought I was going to end at 205 today on my snatches, and I thought I wasn't going to get any heavier than barely 275, if not lighter than that. And I locked that shit the fuck in, man. You got to just stop and breathe for a second. Enjoy the moment. Just think about what you're doing right now and relax. Just do what you can. You know, there's no real complex thing about this kind of stuff or anything you want to do great in life with. Just enjoy the present moment for a second, you know? The past is gone and done with, and the future does not exist. Everything that happened in the past was only important because you did what you could in those present moments on their own individually, you know? So again, the only thing that really matters is what you're going to do right this second. 5 seconds ago is already gone. Start thinking about right now and just do it, you know? Don't let your little limited mindset mannerisms get in the way of that, man. The negative what ifs that you can't control and you can't actually predict, even if you feel like you can, just make you have an easier point of failure, you know? Other than that, great day. Couldn't be happier. I'm chilling. I gotta get going. I got work soon. But I appreciate you guys as always. You know I love getting to shoot the shit with you guys, letting y'all hear me yap what I gotta yap about. But either way, I'm gonna keep doing my best, and I hope you guys do too. Let me know how those lives and lists have been going. You know, I love hearing about it. And just do y'all's thing, you know? Don't let the rest of the world or whatever other people are doing make you question what you're trying to work on your own individual, unique experience. Just do it. It'll get better at some point. Just have faith and have fun. I will see you day after tomorrow, rest day tomorrow, so I'm going to definitely eat a lot of fun, carby food, sugary food, and just vibe and veg out for a full 24 hours, and I'll be back. I love you guys. See you later. Bye.